Hello, welcome to Surface session number 3, where we're going to talk about your third assignments. I'm Pinar, again.
And I'm Bailey. I'm a student assistant for this MOOC. You might recognize my name from the forums.
Today we're going to talk about your third assignment, right?
Yes.
And this assignment was all about your actual concept. What you needed to do was to build on your concept exploration phase and start to break down your concept into little component parts and see how they, came together into one coherent whole. Now, we have 2 really good examples that we're going to share with you, and in the end we'll also talk a little bit about all the stuff that came up in the forum in the past week. Right? Okay, here we go. The first example that we have is this one by J.R. Fittipaldi. And it's about the setup of an online store. And what we really liked about this one is that it is super detailed. Nothing has been left out, right?
Right.
And it's really clear that a lot of thought and time and effort has gone into it. And there is a lot of depth here. The only thing that we were a little bit unsure of was the fact that is it a little bit too complex, It is. It is maybe not too complex, but the question is how will you use it and who's going to be looking at it? Exactly. So it makes perfect sense, for the person who actually put this thing together. However, if you are to present this to somebody else, it could confuse them a little bit in the beginning. You had a really good analogy, right, for this? Yeah, actually, I compared it to a subway map because for me, if I was to put together a subway map, I think that it would look quite confusing and hard to read for anybody else, but for me it would probably make sense, all these different moving lines. However, subway maps, when they're made for the mass public, they are radically simplified down, and the reason for that is so that it's readable for pretty much everybody. So this is kind of an example of the subway map before it's been narrowed down into its most important parts. Yeah. But either way, it is an excellent example for when you are designing a service. And it would actually work really well, couldn't it? If you were to use it for a product as well, something as detailed as this, showing every single step.
Yes.
So for technical engineering, for instance, it could be a wonderful help. So
definitely.
Great job.
Yes, very well done. The second example we have is by the user named Sander Smit, and I think we've talked about him before. He gave us, I think, several images about his process, and if you look at what's up on the screen right now, you can see that he put in a lot of work, very similar to it's J.R. Fittipaldi. So again, 2 users that definitely put in a lot of work. This is a very in-depth model here, but what we thought was interesting and slightly different about this one is that the end result, the IDEF0 map, was indeed quite simplified. So it's really different from the other one. And you can see the same amount of work went into it, but it's a bit different as well.
So, both are excellent examples of how an IDEF0, could be done.
Yes.
So we have one which has everything in there all at the same time, and then another one which is a lot more simplified and broken down process. And it just shows how versatile the method is, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And I think it answers a lot of the questions that were on the forum as well. There's a lot of questions about the complexity of this process, what parts to break down or how deep do you need to go. And I think that the answer is as far as you need it to. That's what's the great thing about this method, is that it is completely personal and it's completely related to what you need it to be. So, for example, the 2 ones that we just showed you right now, these are very, very in-depth and they're both system-based. But if you need only to understand a certain part of the context, you can use this same method and just sketch it out on a napkin or just, make it very, very brief and contextual in your own mindset, and that is equally as useful to you. So again, also with the subway maps, again, that first example is fantastic for that person, because that person now knows every little bit of this context that he was trying to explore or she was trying to explore. But is it useful when you bring it to a meeting and show it to your bosses or show it to somebody where you're trying to implement it? Maybe not. You know.
So I think the moral of the story is there is no IDF Zero police here, so
No
make it
police.
work for you.
Yes.
I think that's the main takeaway.
Yes, and actually we wanted to highlight one more of the users. The user Nagaprashanth had a great quote in one of the team discussions here, and I would like to highlight that for you. It says, "What matters is your knowledge gaining and the implementation of real-life scenarios rather than casual discussion. This is just a step for our learning curve, so don't worry too much. Do your best." And it has a smiley face at the end. We think that that's a really great example and a really great message, because it's just for you. All of these methods are just tools for you, and you can use them as you will.
So we're ending on a high note then.
Yes.
Right? So I think we're done for the day. 2 excellent examples. And, well, I guess we are very, very hopeful for what's going to come up in the last challenge.